maybe before I start, to give you like a quick background on who I am and why I am doing this call. So I'm Aurelio, and 3 years ago we created a tool for people whose job is to manage and maintain multiple WordPress sites. So we have created a dashboard from where they can update everything in one click, backup everything in one click, and send report about what has been done to the website owner. So it's a tool we have developed for agencies and WordPress developer. And as non-technical founders, I'm spending my whole day talking with agencies, trying to understand what are their pain, how can I help. And our tool has been designed to provide what we call WordPress maintenance, how you keep the site like up and running. And I've realized that most of our clients, they are struggling to sell WordPress maintenance because they don't onboard their clients the right way. Um, when you don't onboard your clients the right way, you you come with three issues come up. The first one is you miss stream of revenue because onboarding is the best moment to start upselling something. So, for instance, WordPress maintenance doesn't come as a bad surprise at the end of the day. You create scope creep, so people have expectations that are different than the one you have. And then you get the worst part, which is panic call, which is a mad client calling you at 10 p.m. in the evening to complain that the website is broken. This is not meant to happen. And I'm going to share a little story about my life. And if you had one thing to remember about this presentation, it's this story. Dating someone, it's just like making a website for someone. Dating someone is dating a client. And a few months ago, I met a girl, and it was amazing. It was going great, a lot of feeling. Um, Sex was amazing. Like it was just great. And after a few months, I asked her, "Hey, do you want to be in a relationship?" And she looked at me and she said, "What do you mean by being in a relationship? What does this mean to you?" And if you think back to your clients and the relation you have with your clients, they come to you and they say, "Hey, can you make my website?" And you should be asking them, "What do you mean by making your website? Should I manage hosting? Should I manage the domain? Should I do SEO? Where does it start? Pardon, where does it start and where does it end?" And so this girl asked me, "What does this mean for you to be in a relationship?" And I was like, "You know, to be here for each other and to be faithful." And she was like, "What does this mean, being faithful for you?" And I was like, like it's not having sex with someone else. And she said, "What about kissing?" And I was like, wow. And when you are asking, why is he talking about kissing and sex in a client onboarding presentation? Um, my point was, with someone with whom I had spent the last 3 months, I needed a clarification on something so easy to understand as our in a relationship. So what do you think happened when you start to talk about Gutenberg block, hosting providers, backup services, SEO optimization to your clients who have a very different perception of the reality than you? Next time you onboard someone, ask yourself if you have clarified everything. How deep did you go in the scope clarification? Because most of the problems that are going to arise in the relationship you might have with your clients are going to be based on the assumption that your clients might understand the process and that things will be clarified along the way. Just in a relationship, like I'm sure we would have find out at some point what being faithful meant for both of us, and probably the right way, and probably it's going to be fine with most of your clients. You won't need to clarify things. But for the 20% that are a pain in the ass, it's your mistake because you didn't take the time to clarify what you really wanted. This we already spoke about. I'm running a bit out of time, so I will go to the most important thing, which is the mindset shift. How do you actually onboard your clients? Onboarding your clients is not about making you feeling good. It's about making them feeling safe. Client onboarding is not about you, it's about them. You need to, I made this comparison with dating someone. I will make another one, which is about boarding a plane. When you board a plane, the pilot has a checklist and it checks everything. Is the engine okay? Is the oil okay? And he has like the internal process that he checks every time the plane is taking off. And when this list is all green, you have the crew. And if you think about this, you have people who has taken a flight here. Okay. Every time we take a flight, we have someone explaining us what's going to happen if the flight crash. You know, not any flight. I mean, since we are all here, never happened to us, but they take the time to do that. When you onboard your clients, who is onboarding, who has like pardon, I should have started with this. Who is working or running an agency? We just have one agency owner here. Okay. Maybe you're not running an agency. Maybe you're a WordPress developer or a freelancer. Who has a client onboarding checklist? Things that you systematically check. Thank you very much. Things that you systematically check before onboarding a client. A process that you follow, just like the pilot of the plane follow every single time the plane is taking off. Nobody? You're a very good student. But this is the thing. Client onboarding is the most important thing you can do about client relationship because it's where you clarify everything, and with clarity you build trust. And if you don't take the time to grow on clarity, people will start to ask themselves questions and they will start to doubt, and maybe they will connect on the back end of their WordPress website one day, do something they were not supposed to do, break the website, come back to you and ask you to fix it. And then you will waste 2 hours fixing something that was not planned because your client did something he was not supposed to do, or or you thought he was not supposed to do, but did he know that he was not supposed to do that? Did you exactly clarify who should be doing what? We are talking with agency like all day long. There are some people from the customer support department in the room fixing like broken websites. And I can see that often agencies or WordPress developer, they blame the client. Oh, the client broke the website. But did you tell them that they should never touch this particular thing? Because if you do, they very rarely do against what you said. Just like in a plane, you can fix when you adopt the right mindset, which is the most important thing. Then the tools are just an enabler. You can, with 2 key documents, you can fix most of the onboarding issue. The first one is an internal checklist. It doesn't need to be extremely long, and it can be improved on every new client that you onboard, but you must have processes if you want to scale. The second one, just like in a plane, is not meant for you, it's meant for your clients. And we call this at WP Umbrella the client-facing welcome book, which is basically a place where you clarify everything. What are the communication channels? When do we communicate to each other? What happens if your website goes down? Here are the tools that I use. Here is how you can use them. You know, like a welcome package, just like on a plane where they explain you, hey, this is how you can blow your life jacket if the plane sink in water. You need to empower people to use your tool and to understand their process so it feels natural. At the I will not go through like the whole onboarding toolkit. At the end of the presentation, there is a QR code that will lead you to 2 documents that you can download, our internal checklist for clients and the welcome book. There are 4 things you must please avoid when you onboard a client. The first one is to speak in jargon. You should never use technical words without explaining them, because when you do that, maybe you think you look smart, but what really happens is the people you are talking to, they feel stupid. And nobody likes to feel ignorant. Nobody likes to feel stupid. And we all like to learn, pardon. So you must adapt your wording. And if you can't, you must explain to the people in simple terms. And ChatGPT can be like a super enabler for this. Explain this to me like if I was a 15 years old kid. And you can talk to your client like that. And so you can understand what's going on. The second one is to keep undefined response time. People have urgency, but everything is urgent nowadays, and people must know when they can expect an answer from you. You should never assume that a scope is obvious, but we already talked about this, like clarification is key in everything we do with your clients. And the last one is probably the most important one, which is you should never avoid uncomfortable conversation during the onboarding. I'm going to share one last story about my life. I was working in the past at the European Parliament as a trainee in the administration. And on my first day, you know, in politics, there are many creepy people that do crappy things. And on my first day, my head of unit was Finnish. And it was the way he was onboarding trainees. He asked me to come and he said, you know, do you like big problems? And I said, no, I don't like big problems, Pekka. He was named Pekka. And he asked me, do you know how big problems happen? And I was like, no, but I'm sure you're going to tell me. And he said, big problems happen not when small problems are not fixed. And if you have the unpleasant conversation early in the process, everybody is going to forget about them. If you don't have those uncomfortable conversations at the beginning, they are just going to grow, to grow, to grow, to grow, and then you will end up with very big problems. One last thing, which is like after the thing you shouldn't do, the thing that you must do, which is to be as transparent as possible with your clients. At WP Umbrella, we have like 2 kinds of agencies. We have very big agencies that manage hundreds of websites, and we have small freelancers that are managing between 10 and 40 websites. What we very often see is that the big agencies, they are super happy to share the tool they are using. They don't use our white label feature. They talk about the WP umbrella to their client. And I'm speaking about the WP umbrella, but they talk about all the tools they are using because they are owning their technical stack. Our small clients, on the other hand, they want to hide everything. They want for the client to stay in the shadow because they are not confident of the value they deliver to the client, and they are afraid that one day the client is just going to leave because he will start using the tool himself. And this is not what it is about. If you want to build trust, if you want to keep your clients happy, if you want to avoid problem, you need to have the hard conversation. You need to be transparent because people are going to commit to your tool, to your processes, if you can make them grow and if they feel that you are an expert, if you feel that you remove the pain from them and they don't care about how. So on your stack, on your process, have tiny process because without processes you cannot scale. And this is how client should be onboarding. And client onboarding is not an extra piece of work. Client onboarding is the most important things you can do when you land the client. It's not like just an Excel sheet with a list of tasks and some credential you give them. Oh, this is your hosting credential. This is your email credential. This is a WordPress passport. See you. Bye-bye. Onboarding is the exact moment where you empower people to feel that the relation is going to be amazing and that they're in good hand.